We'll start the meeting off. Everybody knows that Mr. George had a mild stroke over the weekend, and I can have such a thing as a mild stroke, but I understand he has come home this afternoon and doing better. So we need to remember him in prayer. And I think that we need to remember that school situation in Nashville tonight in prayer also, those kids and teachers and all up there, and families, the ones that lost loved ones. Mr. Table, would you lead us in prayer tonight?
Father, Lord, as we come here today, before we get started, Lord, let us remember our fellow commissioner who's out with the stroke. I ask that you reach your healing hand upon him, Father, Lord. You put him back on his feet, Lord. Do that healing touch, Father. Let him touch the hem of your garment, Lord, and be healed, Father. Lord, I pray for the people in Nashville who lost their loved ones, Lord. All the families, Lord, and the grief that they're going through. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you just strengthen and comfort them and give them peace that surpasses all understanding, Father. Lord, I do ask this, and I ask that you bless this commission today, Lord, and everything we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Teacher. All right. Item number 3 is a revision to the Highway Department budget proposal. Heather, Mr. Ronnie, will come up. Is she going to do it? Okay.
I can speak to it. Thank you. Basically, just a quick change. After the last meeting, the highway was informed that they had to make a change per state audit. So all it affected was that they needed to show $250,000, and that is on page 2, row 58. You'll see the transfers in of $250,000. And then the same $250,000 is going out in equipment, which is shown on page 3, row 152. Originally it was $45,000, so now it shows us $295,000. The reason is because the vehicles that are in the current budget are not going to come in until next year, so audit is having them move them into next year's budget and just pull them out of this year's. And then one other quick thing, just the revenues, row 7 and row 14, I'm sorry, row 13. Those were just increased slightly with the current property tax rate. The property tax rate for this year is $13,600. So there's just a couple thousand extra on both those lines. That was the only thing that was changed on that one.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Heather on the Highway Department revised budget? All right. None being asked. We'll go to item number 4, charitable contribution request summary for 2023-24. I guess Ms. Heather, is that you?
Yes, I'll speak to that, sir. This gentleman, Melissa, basically the the nonprofit committee did meet a couple weeks ago, and this is the summary they were given. They were also given a couple hundred pages of all the details of each of the charitables that were requesting funds. There were no recommendations made at that meeting. What they asked instead is they wanted to wait till we get to that point of the full budget, to see all the budgets, full highway ourselves, and the additional budgets surrounding, and then they wanted to reconvene and see what they could do from them. They just felt it was premature to give a recommendation at this point, but I did want you all to see it. You can see the first column shows you the approved amounts in 22-23. The second column shows what those groups requested, and then I put a column all the way to the right if there was an increase in the request so that you could see that as well. The two on the bottom, I'll speak to that when we get to their individual budgets, but the hotel motel tax, that is money we give to the Chamber of Commerce. We include it on the charitable contribution because we give them more than $25,000, so therefore we have to show it for TCA code this way. However, that money is, that $26,000 is what we gave last year. You see the amount this year is 0. It's not really 0, it's $26,000 or whatever we decide to give as the commission decides. And then the same thing with the animal control, I'll speak to that too, but the same thing, that is offset with as much as we can from rabies vaccines revenues. We've been given 18,000, and the 23-24 amount will be for discussion too. And both of those were brought to the nonprofit.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Heather on the charitable contributions? How much rabies tax did you get?
Probably about 5,000 a year, it's not a lot. When we first started this, I would say we had some built up reserves money because we had some contributions from, we had one from Pike County, a couple other sources, but then after that got used up, now we're just using the rabies vaccine. Outside of, once we use up that, it's taxpayer money that's going for that.
I have a question. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you will.
Okay.
Last year when we did the chamber, when they come in here and they sit here and ask for 26,000, they said that's a one-time deal.
I honestly don't recall if they said one time or not, but it was increased. You're absolutely right. I think it was, I can look on
They
it.
said they only needed a one-time deal. Well, here, this is the second time.
And there, of course, we have a new director now, and I did talk to that director. Basically, her opinion was whatever the commission deems they want to give for the hotel motel, that's what they'll take and accept.
I'm just aware that, I may not remember a lot, but I remember finances most of the time.
All right. Mr. Mathis, you and Mr. Dickey both said on the charitable contributions nonprofit committee, y'all have anything to say on that before we move on?
All we're doing is waiting till the whole budget in, go from there.
Yep. Okay. All right, if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and get into the next. Mr. Joe Griffin. Is he in the room? Oh, I'm glad he's here.
Page 5.
Page 9. Mr. Griffin, we're glad to see you as usual.
Oh,
Some of us are. Some of us are.
Full of it, ain't
Some of us are, Mr. Griffin.
he? Yeah, I said that.
Yep.
I can do that. Yes, I will. Be glad to. Be glad.
All right. Oh, we got two.
Well, I threw last year's in there too, so you can see what the difference was.
Okay.
I broke it down a little bit. In other words, I broke it down into where everything goes, all the money goes. The university is getting a 4% pool of money for raises. All employees across the state. And I've asked for a 4% raise on this one, on the salaries, which comes out to $21,8240 total on the salaries. I took that $21,8240 and I split it 4 ways. Just divided by 4, give everybody the same amount of raise. And then the other part of the increase, which the total increase is 41, 42, 27, I believe. And the rest of it was medical insurance, some social security, TCRS, and things like that. So the other increases came in. But, that's
Let's see.
what I would like to request.
TCRS and medical went up, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. And of course, we've got one employee on TCRS, we've got 2 on TCRS hybrid, and I'm on PERS. You can see that up there, that's federal employees. And then those 401K, that's where we match money that they're taking on their salaries.
All right, anybody have any questions for Mr. Joe Griffin? I hope we got much, because he wants to stay. you know, at least 9.
Well, I got a call going on right now.
Do you really? So you won't go
My
back?
grandson's playing up there.
Well, I don't know, I'm not be there.
He thinks he's gonna be with Wayne's.
Well, he probably will. He probably will. Any questions for Joe?
There's 4 people in this salary supplement line, is that correct?
Myself, Brett Wallace, Mary Donahue, and Angela Wallace. We do have one more employee that works out of the office, but she's 100% funded by TS, Tennessee State. When I wish I had asked her a raise, but she's something else.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
she's tough.
All right, any questions? All right, sorry. You're free to go watch with the play ball.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
If
you.
you have any questions, you can call me. Be glad to answer.
All right, thank you, Joe. All right. Next on the list is Mr. Ethan Gray. Hello, Mr. Gray.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Evening, afternoon, whatever you want to call it. I'll do the same thing as Joe. I've got some passed around to everybody. So this will be extra. I got one for. So we're looking at certain 21st. The bulk of these increases come from our salaries, our step scale, our communication. That was based on estimates from our vendors, these are things that we had to have. Our AT&T phone lines, Mediacom, CenturyLink, Watchdog Security, our data processing, that's local government, BIS. Again, these are things that are outside of my control. We have to have postage. However, I have asked for money for that because postage has increased again. It continues to do it every year, I've noticed. And what I handed all of you is self-addressed stamped envelopes. They reflect the old clerk's name on there, but they have postage paid for, so you gotta apply postage to these. This is kind of a house cleaning measure. Be a good steward of the money. Also to absorb.
So you're having to put 4 cents on there, what of it?
I've got hundreds in the office still. So that and to combat the increases we see. That's why I'm asking for that. But that postage applies to our jury checks. I mean, this could be anything, but jury, you know, is a big group. At least I see, I can actually calculate, because I kind of know roughly how many I'm going to call every time. And I've also asked for 100 in other charges. Truth be told, that money doesn't typically get spent, but if y'all granted that to me, if we are able to save some money on the postage by using what we got first, I'd like to purchase some new checks. They still reflect the old clerk's name too. Seems like we got several years worth of checks in there, but kind of looks unprofessional when we're scratching his name out, writing mine in, so.
I agree with that.
So, again, that's just how I feel on that, and that's entirely up to y'all. But,
All right, you want to go over any of your other ones before? Y'all want to ask questions about this one first?
How many people are in the line of deputies?
I have 2 for certain clerks.
You say 2?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I've left something out of communication. I'm also asking for 500. That's not out of my control, but I'm asking for a jury text messaging system. And that sheet that I gave y'all, we had a situation come up where the judge had changed the jury instructions that I laid out, and that resulted in me having to type up a letter telling them what the instructions had changed, and I had to send out letters, postage, the whole deal. There's a summary of costs in there. Like I said, at the time, postage was 57 cents, it's up to 60 now. And by the time you account for paper, address labels, envelopes, that entire situation took one person 4 to 6 hours of time plus the cost associated with it. We were looking at $73.39 for that, just one special occasion. I mean, so it's kind of hard to put us in a shape. It's not a good use of our time if, you know, if we can avoid it. I think a text messaging system, everyone's got a phone. Most people keep them on medical appointments, credit card payments due. Same thing can go for jury duty, because we have times where, this month, for example, we had a January term, we didn't have anything in February. And the last day of January, I said, call back in March. A lot of people will forget a month. I think send a text message right before, they'll be like, okay, I gotta remember to call in. I think it'd be a convenience to them. I think it could save some postage in situations like the one I've covered. So that is something I'd like you all to consider as well.
Hey, what about those maybe older people that don't text or?
It would be completely voluntary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I got
completely
it.
voluntary.
I'm like you, I think most people would probably rather have it that
Yes,
way,
yes.
but I know,
And it's the company I talked to, Henry County uses them. They're billed monthly, but for him, and I'm sure it'd be the same way for us, our circuit months, the bill would be higher in that month, but when it's not a circuit month, the cost isn't very high at all. So I'm just trying to make a rough estimate of how much it costs. I think it's costing them roughly $375 a year, but we've already had their average number of trials since I've taken office. So on average, we're trying more cases and having more jury duty.
all right, any more questions for Ethan on circuit before he moves on to general sessions? All right, buddy.
All right, so general sessions, more of the same. Our communication is AT&T, Mediacom, Watchdog Security. These are quotes from them. And our data processing will be local government, BIS. These are things we have to have as part of our software. In general sessions, I'm asking for 200 in additional postage to make up for the price increase in postage, and also another $100 for other charges. Again, if we save money on postage somehow, we're able to work around that. New checks. That'd be really all I'm asking for.
I don't think that's too much to ask. Okay, any questions?
How many deputies you got in this?
3.
Three.
So 5 of y'all total up there plus you.
Yes.
Any questions for Ethan while he's still here? Good job, David. Thank you. All right, Miss Natalie. I don't blame you. Good job.
Here's one more time.
When he passed them out, I thought they were sure to do something. Wow. All right, Miss Natalie.
All right, first I just want to give y'all a quick update. Back in the fall, y'all helped me, or y'all let me move some money around out of the salary line items so I could do some things. I've got office construction scheduled for April 6th to the 10th, so I encourage y'all to come by the office and visit us after Easter and kind of see what's going on in there. We have the website up and running, and you can access minutes on there now. We are currently backscanning old minutes in. Right now, you can go from about 2012 forward and actually look up any of the commission minutes. So I'm getting the other ones, the older ones, scanned in right now. So
Data processing, that's only going up a little bit, but the website maintenance is gonna be $1,500 a year. It's not going up that much because some of that savings was from a workstation that we were gonna get last year that we decided not to get. Legal notices, that's actually one of the county commission notices that are running. I guess they've been being billed to the mayor's office, they're supposed to come out of my budget. I've got an increase in travel, and I've got the in-service and staff development, that's for trainings, conferences, CTAS classes. And I actually brought my office supplies down just a little bit. Currently I have 3 deputies in the office. I have another one who's slated to start on May the 16th of this year. I had just enough left in the budget to have somebody start mid-May. That's
Any questions for Ms. Natalie? Any way you can tell how many people gets on that website?
They
Does
can,
it have a
yeah,
counter on it?
yeah, it can probably tell me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just wondered,
But I don't-
how active it really was.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I can
Yeah.
probably look into it.
How many deputies you got over there?
Right now I have 3, I'll have 4.
Was that the 107, 4, or 4? Or 3?
It's the same as it was. The how many deputies we had, yeah, I just haven't replaced myself yet.
You took that money last year and doing your office improvement.
Yes, I just didn't replace myself whenever I took office and we moved that money
Ms.
out.
Natalie, you're replacing.
You think so?
I think you are.
But yeah, it's, the number of deputies has stayed the same, it hasn't increased or anything, so, and I'll have somebody starting, like I said, and the new counter will actually have enough space for all of us to have a spot there.
Any questions for Ms. Natalie? Ms. Natalie, I got online and ordered my tags, and that worked really well.
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing that. All right, Ms. Natalie, you're good.
Thank you.
Waste pickup, Miss Margie Smith. Oh, wow. Who would put her in charge of trash? Don't y'all agree with that?
Marty, on that?
My nephew's favorite song, I like my little on the trash side. Here I am.
Oh, boy, that's a big market.
Yeah. Now, basically what we're proposing now, because we're just showing the same as we did last year, we're kind of in the process of doing something different. Got to get a lot of things approved by the state, so later you will probably see, well, I'm sure you'll see it in a minute, but the bottom line is we'll still be getting $44,200 from the state, $14,000 from Bike County, so $58,200 is gonna be the public, and it's all, like I said, 100% funded by Bike County and the state.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Marge? I think you're good, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Heather, Leeds grant.
The LEAPS grant, that is the lottery education grant that Ms. Lisa Gafford has overseen for many years now at the North Stewart Elementary School. Like Margie, the budget you're going to see pretty much is identical. The amount is $96,525. We still have not seen the grant for next year. There is a possibility that this grant could end. The reason being is the state is asking for a high level of cybersecurity insurance as well as physical safeguards, which the county does not have right now. So Lisa and myself are working with the insurance company to see if there's anything we can do. The school does not have the insurance, but they do have the safeguards in place, so that's a possibility, but there's a lot of issues with that too. So I'm just letting you know this is a grant that we are concerned about. Houston County, I was told, dropped the grant because when they got their insurance cost, it was more than the total of the grant itself. So I'm waiting to see, but IT and cybersecurity is a big issue right now. The insurance companies are pushing. We do not have an information technology person in the county, so that hurts us tremendously when the insurance looks at us for liability and risk.
When will you know?
We're Not sure. Tom's had about a week. He's waiting to hear back from Tennessee Risk Management Trust.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Heather on the leak stream? Okay, Ms. Heather, I think you're going in. County building?
It's pretty much me here on out, sorry.
Yeah.
The next one, county buildings. This is a place where we have a couple different personnel walk through. The first is the clerical personnel. That is one of the individuals in our office that assists us as well as oversees other areas, does all the payables, and she works with the visitor center, booking events, that type of thing. So she helps out with various buildings. The next is the custodial personnel. There's 2 individuals in that one. The next is maintenance personnel. There are 4 individuals there. And then part-time personnel, right now we just have 1 part-time person, Mr. Leon, who works in the courthouse, not very many hours a week, but that's for his part-time hours. Outside of that, the increases you're going to see are the increases. We have a little bit of increase to insurance, retirement. Things that have gone up is, just like you've heard before, communication bills are slightly up. Our contracts, we contract with waste disposal companies. Obviously, with the inflation going on right now, we're starting to see slight increases across the board. Pretty much going down. The rentals line item at $23,000, that is a tower rental that goes up slightly every year, about 3%. And then on page 13, going into that, most items stayed. Actually, was able to bring electricity down slightly, looking at what we've been averaging. And pretty much going through that last item too, you see on row 47, I'd like to point that out. That's building improvements, $25,000. That is the amount, prior administration, Mayor Brandon started putting that in. That is for the ADA compliance throughout the county that we are trying to reach $25,000 to stay with the plan that was in place. Any questions on that one?
Back up to, all right, how many people you can have?
July 12 maintenance is 4 individuals.
Maintenance is 4.
Let me double check that.
We'll move this.
Yes, it's 4.
2 custodians.
2 custodians.
All right.
2 of those 4 that you're in reference to, they stay at the jail. Now, I've branched them out some because I went and, we had a sit-down meeting and just to find out if they were busy enough to have 2 people full-time at the jail. And they were very clear that there was not enough to do there to have 2 people. So they have been branching out. We use them in other places, but primarily there at the jail. But we are branching those them out some. But, so to say we have 4, we do have 4, but Tim and Norman is the everyday courthouse here, where library, wherever they're doing. They get to stay away from the jail right now.
All right. Any more questions? All right, Ms. Heather, tourism.
There's 2 different tourism budgets. This is the first one. This is the one that is not linked to any revenue. So typically we'll use this one for if we get any incoming grants, anything like that. So right now you're going to see a very low budget outside of the $3,000 that's in advertising and travel. That $26,000 represents, I have a note down below, that is the money that we've given the chamber. As you can see, Mr. Tieber had talked about them increasing it. In 21-22, it was $18,000. Last year, we increased it to $26,000. I'm just showing exactly what it was, but that is certainly a number that if anybody wants to move, we can move either way. Also, I will say the hotel motel tax, I think you've heard me say it before, it's gone up. We offset that with that. It is running about $50,000 a year now in revenue. It's going to come in at least $50,000 this year, I'm pretty sure, and I expect it to be at least that next year. So that is about 50% that they're taking.
Any restrictions on the hotel motel tax? It can't be used anywhere.
It can be used anywhere. Yeah, when the resolution was passed, I read through the resolution, I read through the minutes just to be sure. The intent was for it to help the chamber director, but the way that the commission voted on it was that it didn't have any stipulation. It could be used however the commission saw fit. Not this one, the next one is, yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, this is, the reason we have two different tourism is this budget here on pages 15 and 16. This is the Tennessee River Resort Tourism. What it is we get River Resort District sales tax. Of that money that we receive, you have to spend 50% of it on tourism-related items. So there's a stipulation. The other 50% can be spent on anything. So what we did is when we actually built this visitor center, we started putting all the expenses of the visitor center against that. So that is the majority of what you see here in this budget. The personnel at the top, that is the visitor center director, who's a part-time employee, as well as another employee. Then you'll see maintenance and repair on the building. You'll see communication. Anywhere you see in the column B, a number 16, those are expenses that are related to the visitor center. So whether it be pest control, custodial supplies for the building, water, electricity, all those things go towards this visitor center. So we try to offset that with all the revenue, and we've always been able to up until this point. $120,000 is what I'm budgeting for 23-24, and the reason is that's exactly 50% of what you'll see on the revenue side, which will be $240,000. That's about where.
How much was that? So it's 240 grand.
And I do want to point out one other thing, because we're speaking, I tried to include anything that was charitable related in tonight's agenda, but if you look at row 17, where it says contributions at $20,000, that money is used, we do have sort of a procedure in-house. We followed suit with Henry County a number of years ago. So if you have an event that comes to town, there's sort of a procedure and paperwork that they can fill out. Like years ago, there was the Sealy Outdoors Bass Tournament. There was the McDonald's one. There's been different ones over the years. So that there is used, we've used it for Eagle Fest, for events at Cumberland City, those types of things. But included in that $20,000 is also the charitable contribution that we give to the chamber. This is not the hotel motel, this is their charitable contribution, which last year was approved at $7,900. So that would also come out of that line item.
When they rent it, or work that money, you go back to general fund.
Yes, it does. We get, we budget for that. We don't, I think I budgeted roughly $5,000 a year we get. We don't charge a lot for the visitor center. It's, we've increased it a little bit. So it's $75 for a half day and $150 for a full day. I think that's
I believe it's
It's
100.
100, half day, 200.
Oh, thank you. 100 for half day, 200 for full day.
You may generate about 5,000.
Yeah, it's not, because we don't charge like if it's something that's county related. You know, we have a lot of people that use it, like we're using it tonight. But if somebody's actually renting it for an event, then they do pay that amount to the mayor's office. It gets turned in, but it's not a significant source of revenue. It's only been around. But next year I was budgeting $7,000. This year $6,000.
The other 50% revenue is going back into general fund.
Yes, correct. To be used for any expenses.
All right. Any questions on Tennessee River Resort? Seeing none? Okay, this has other economic and community development.
This budget is quite small. You see the $4,000. The reason it was different than the $54,000 in the current year is because the current year has a $50,000 three-star grant in there. That is a grant we usually get every year, but we've not been given any indication, so we will have to amend once we get that grant in. But that grant is 100%, so whatever comes in as an expense is also going to be offset with the revenue. The $4,000 though is just money that we put into various sources. We put $1,500 towards some travel, and then just $500 there towards supplies. The $2,000, I do want to specifically speak to that. That is row 10. It's under contributions. It's a different type of contribution. On page 18 is the resolution. This is a resolution that was passed back in 2006. It was to give, at the time, $1,500 to the Stewart County Arts and Heritage Council. They work very similar to like the Archives Department, where they work with the county, different things throughout the community. Last year, they asked the prior administration to increase that to 2,000, and we had put 2,000 in the budget, but we never did go back and do the resolution. I talked with the Arts and Heritage Council. They said they're not going to ask for it. You know, I said, do we want to bring a resolution to, I have to have a resolution first before I can give them 2,000 versus 1,500. They said they got some grants this year. They would just leave it at 1,500, but they would like to request the 2,000, and I wanted to show you the sample resolution. If it is approved, once we come to full budget, I'll have to have the commission pass that resolution too, because it needs to replace the original one in 2006.
You're talking about electricity, you know, one thing going to basement, we still gonna go ahead and pay for electricity all out tourism. You know, you're saying the vendors that are paying out of,
Oh, okay.
so if they go in the basement and all, we'll still go ahead and do what we're doing now.
Arts and Heritage, I don't think there's any, no, there's no plans for
The
that.
only arts and heritage we have in the visitor center is in the gallery to the left.
No, maybe I'm thinking about our.
Yeah, you're probably thinking
Archives,
about.
and I said that, I'm sorry, confused, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was saying they're similar to archives in that they do things for the community, they work as a council, they're an independent
Well, then
council.
what do we got going in the basement here?
The Veterans Service Office they have an office there, and the archives has a very large portion of it down there. And I have the same questions you have, but, you know, we're getting out of one thing, you know, where they're over at the annex, you know, and that's something we're gonna eventually have to visit. Right now, we're paying about almost $30,000 a year in electricity and water at the annex. So we have to sit down in the coming, you know, months after we get budgeted and everything and figure out what we're gonna do there. You know, we wanna continue partnering with the school system for sure, because we are responsible for the juvenile office, the election commission. So, I mean, you'll see those funds in their budget, but we do as a county pay a really good, $30,000 a lot of money in electricity and water. So that's something we're gonna have to address. I mean, it's budgeted appropriately, but it still needs addressing.
All right, any other questions about that? All right, other charges. We always like other.
I never have like,
I know, again, it's an account name where they put in things like, we wish they would have an account state whether it's called insurance, but they don't. So insurance and other things get lumped into other charges. The first one, legal notices, that's pretty much self-explanatory when we put documents into the paper or any other kind of notice reporting. The next one, remittance of revenues collected, that is mainly the money when we share our property with Houston County, we have to give 50% of certain revenues that are shared properties in the park, and then they give us 50% of those same revenues in the park. Liability insurance, that is with Tennessee Risk Management Trust, the same as the workman's comp down on row 16. Those tend to go up slightly every year. That's for the county as a whole. Premiums on corporate bonds, we're not in an election year, so the only bond we should have would be on the trustees. And liability claims, that last one at the bottom, that is if we get sued as a county and our insurance company takes it on, we can pay up to $5,000 as a deductible. So I typically budget the $5,000. Sometimes we don't pay it. As you can see, this year we've not had to pay anything, but the year before we paid about $8,000.
All right. Any questions on other charges? All right, we'll move on to miscellaneous. That's kind of like other charges.
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous.
Well, these are, the row 10 is the most significant. Row 10 constitutes any of the charitable organizations that don't already have a state of Tennessee comptroller name. So you'll see on the next few pages, for example, there is a department for fire, there is one for senior citizens, but there's not one, say, for CASA or for the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts. So Anybody who doesn't have a specific department, the contributions that the county gives is posted there, and you can see on page 4, if you were trying to marry up on page 4, I actually gave you all the account numbers so you can see which ones actually go into that 58900, which is the miscellaneous. And then the dues and memberships, those are monies we pay out to, top of my head, I think that's the GNRC and the dues and memberships is for the GNRC, Association of Tennessee Valley Governments, and the TCSA.
All right, any questions on miscellaneous? Any none, we'll move on to fire prevention.
Nothing like miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Okay, fire prevention and control, this is, all the money here represents the Stewart County Volunteer Fire Department, Fire and Rescue. $94,000 is the amount was programmed for 22-23. I put for 23-24, $94,000, but as you can see on page 5, they are requesting more. So once that's decided with nonprofit, it will come to you all to move on to the full commission. But I did at least want to show you the departmental budgets so you can see the history and have that.
All right, any questions on fire prevention?
I thought they was asking for more.
They are.
They are, she just didn't recognize it in here because we hadn't done the nonprofits yet.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? Senior citizens.
Same thing with senior citizens. I'm just showing what was given in the current year budget. They are another one that has asked for an increase. Again, look at page 5, you'll see the 5 or 6 groups that did ask for an increase. Senior citizens was one of them. $21,000 is what they had received last year, and that's what's shown there, although they are requesting slightly more when you look at page 5. Oh, I apologize. No, they are not one that is asking for more. Mine. Sam's going to get upset with me. They are not. They're asking for the same thing.
Well, if you're talking about things.
You've got them fighting fire too.
Yeah, you have it on your fight fire.
In your notes.
Oh, you do?
Like copy and
I'm
paste.
sure the seniors want to fight fires.
Yeah, we better scratch that
I'll
line.
just scratch that.
All right. Any questions on senior citizens? All right. Rabies animal control.
And that is the last one. This one is seen on the nonprofit resolution as well because it is giving to a nonprofit organization. Years ago when we started it, we gave it to the Humane Society. Last year it was given to Sagely Biker Bully Farm. This year there is some changes, and you'll be seeing something at the April 10th Commission with regards to those changes. But at the same time, $18,000 is the existing amount, so that is certainly open for discussion when we get to the full budget. If that's something we keep the same, and if we do use a nonprofit, we will have to continue to show them on the nonprofit resolution. But it is offset, like we talked about, with as much animal control money, which comes from the rabies vaccines, which is about $5,000 a year. The rest is going to have to come from taxpayer funds.
Any questions on rabies animal control? Done. Other budget items.
The only thing I bring up, we don't have anybody scheduled for Wednesday. Thursday, we have the sheriff's office bringing the drug control fund, sheriff's office, and jail. But unless there's something specific, Wednesday, we don't have anybody to come to you.
All right. So you don't want to cancel Wednesday's meeting? We have nothing scheduled for Wednesday.
Second.
Motion to cancel. Second. Any discussion? Mr. Taylor, you got any discussion? None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just messed with you, but. All right, so we won't have Wednesday's meeting, but we will be here Thursday at 6:30 for the sheriff's department on his 3 funds. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
All right. Go home.
But maybe we all want to check, so.
I like it.